Yeah, so now we have the blank mounted upside down with the bottom facing upward, so we can mill the bottom of the board. Let's talk about the stands. So the two nose stands are adjusted to the same level and true to the router, and we pick a height so that when the router is at the lowest point in milling the bottom, which would be at the nose, the router can travel down that far without bottoming out on the tracks along Z. And likewise, when the router is at the highest point along the bottom, which is somewhere in the middle of the board, it doesn't top out. Okay, then remember the tail stands are not at the same height necessarily as the nose stands. We have to look at the computer file and look at the Z values on the deck of the board. For example, if the Z value on the deck of the board where the tail stands touch is, let's say, 1/2 inch higher, bigger than the Z value on the deck where the nose stands touch, then we have to lower the tail stands by 1/2 inch with respect to the nose stands. Remember, a higher means lower because the board's upside down. So if we have to lower lower the tail stands, we just bring the router bit until they're just touching the nose stands. Then we bring it over so it hovers over the tail stands. We lower the bit by 1/2 inch along Z, and then we just adjust the tail stands until they just touch the router bit, and then the stands are good to go. And then, just like for the top, we have to align the board by rotating it along Z, so that when the router runs along X, along the stringer, it stays true to the stringer, right? It runs aligned with the stringer. Then we're ready to bring the router to the nose of the board, and maybe 1/2 inch above the nose, and mill the stringer along its length. Remember, we don't want to mill too much of the stringer at once because it's a bit of work for the router to cut through the wood. And then we're going to do another pass of the stringer, this time starting with the router a bit lower along Z. And we're going to keep going until the entire stringer on the bottom has been milled, and therefore has the proper shape. And the board has been milled along the stringer to reach the desired thickness at all points. So I took the blank off the CNC router, and you can see that the bottom has been milled. And now I'm ready to do the same thing as I did for the top. Take my power planer and take off the high ridges most of the way, and then use my Stanley surf form to take them down further, and then finally sanding screen or rough sandpaper to remove all the pixelation marks. And then my blank will be ready for installation of the rails by hand and final shaping.